Well, here you see the British arriving in France. It's video 62. We're in the summer now of 1713, and it's a carry-on from the previous video where I noticed that the British had just landed. We'd had a turn end. There's nothing in France. I've beaten everything back there, as you can see. They've fought me at the fort and lost very dramatically, and have absolutely nothing left, seemingly, in Paris at all at the moment. I'll say that it will have file-armed musketry, citizenry rather. Okay, I'm doing my usual bit of wrecking the French economy, going into the building over and over and over and over and over and over again, phasing it out so you don't have to watch me do that 10 times each one, otherwise the video would just be about doing that. Doing the same here as well with the troops that I've taken via my ships into the northwest of France, and the cavalry that I brought down, or brought across rather, on my fleets again. I'm moving down into the south of France to attack his industrial heartlands down there, so I'll be now starting to damage also his industry. Okay, so that's the 3 French buildings totally destroyed. The port there, of course, is still occupied by me, and it's burning. There's another port in France as well that's burning, and that's one that I'm blockading as well, so he's getting no trade income whatsoever from there. France intrinsically has a great deal of wealth, though. It raises around about 3,000 per turn. So I'm certainly not damaging it to the same scale or the same level that I'm operating on, I'm afraid. But certainly I'm reducing it significantly. I'm hoping soon to get to the point where he can't repair buildings. He's got a choice of whether to recruit troops or whether to repair his buildings. At that point I shall destroy more of his troops in battles and destroy more of his buildings. So he's on a downward trend eventually, but it's a long haul. But the intention is certainly to keep him weak. Looking into the advantages of various buildings, the main reason for building that barracks there is not so much the type of recruits that I can get from it, although that's very nice. It's so that I can move on to get the socket bayonet. It's so important to me that I can move my technology forward. I'm finding now that my technology is so far in advance that the buildings haven't kept up with it, and so I can't move on to another technological level because I haven't got the buildings. You remember from the last video, I was saying that it was very important now that we look towards Ceylon and improving the place. It's very much been the Cinderella part of my empire, and it's rife really for an invasion from a major power. I'd be expecting the Marathas to send a fleet over there that's bigger than mine, and also to send, say, an army of, say, 12 units, I would expect. So I'm building a fortress in there and starting to build up my troops as quickly as possible. So the Marathas, when they're thinking, what's my next target going to be, they're not going to think it's going to be Ceylon, which is the easiest one. Here we are back in Amsterdam. Toying with the idea of how to spend the money on buildings. It's all to do, again, really with technology. I'm looking really to develop my admiralties as well. That's important to me. But I've decided on this time to go for the barracks in Ceylon as well. So I will have the barracks in both places. I need really to be starting to expand a little bit in Ceylon as well. I know they say, you know, you can't fight a battle on 2 fronts. Well, unfortunately, as the Dutch, you end up fighting it as 3. I do need to think for the future. I'm not thinking about fighting on that front yet and invading India, but I am certainly thinking about the kind of armies that I'll be building up there in the future. Quick check over here at the Americas as usual. That's my fleet that I've got heading over from Guatemala. If you remember, I picked up the troops that I used to invade Mexico, and we're now heading towards Guatemala. There's only a few troops on this, a few men. I'll put them on the shore, see what happens. If a massive force comes to meet them, I'll just try and fend them off and maybe support the force later on. But at the moment I'm just going to sit them there, see what happens. Quick look around to see where my reinforcements might come from. We're a bit sparse, I'm afraid, so might have to go all the way back to Mexico again with a look of it. The French there have still got Martinique, you see off to the right there. You might think, yeah, little island, waste of time, hardly any revenue. But my experience of the United Provinces is that the French have taken Martinique from the pirates. If France does fall, you remember there's a British army there now, in France. If they take Paris, the French are out of the game, yeah, and Martinique will return to piracy. Now that's nice in some ways because it means some nice juicy pirate ships will appear that I can gain some revenue from, but it also means that, that there'll be other pirates around adding to the raiding of the trade routes, which is going to reduce my income. Not only that, when it turns to piracy, you get a lot of pirates in it, so it's not like just, you know, a bit of Philocalm citizenry that might be in there at the moment. It would be, say, half a dozen pirates. So I am paying some attention to Martinique, but of course I want Guatemala as well, because that will give me some kind of an income eventually. It'll take time to settle, nothing like as much as it would for the French cities, of course. Just looking around now to find the best place to raise the kind of troops that I'm going to need to fight the pirates if the pirates do appear. Remember, it's imminent now that the British are going to attack France. This could happen at the end of this turn. I could end up with half a dozen pirate units in there, and a pirate fleet. Since the latest upgrade, I've found that artillery has become much more effective. Canister shot is very, very effective. It's worth losing some artillerymen from musket fire just to give some grape shot, as I'll call it. So it's certainly worth thinking about taking artillery over to the pirates. And of course, if you're going to be fighting pirates inside a building, they're sword armed and their melee attack is very good. It's better than my troops. So the only way really to get them out of those kind of buildings is going to be to charge in and go one-on-one with them with poorer quality combat troops, or alternatively, I say there's only one way. There's only one way to get them out of the building, of course, in hand-to-hand, in the way that I've just explained, but another way is by the use of artillery. If you stand artillery off and blow up his buildings, then that will kick him out of them so that you can pick them off with musketry fire. So I'll certainly think about taking artillery onto Martinique. Of course, the problem with island fights is you end up with bits of units all over the place. So you'll find you've got your cavalry over in Mexico, and you've got your best infantry in Curacao, and you've got your artillery in Martinique, and you end up with bits all over the place that you have to pull together by sending fleets around. And of course, it takes time, you know, to get those troops to where you want them to be. Now we're playing around with the tax for this theatre, for the Americas. Just moving the slide rule up and down. I've started to edit out some of these because it seems little point in showing them every time, but I do it every turn, there's no doubt about it. It does need to be done. You can make as much as an additional, say, 500 per turn by altering the tax levels and kicking out those cities that don't pay very much and that are dragging the tax system down because they'd go into rebellion. So same thing over in Europe. We're approaching now the end of the turn of the summer of 1713. And again we'll go through just the major powers, the British, the French and the Spanish. Otherwise we'll be here all day watching all the other countries go through. The British are helping us there, attacking the Marathas, keeping them down. They've been a fantastic ally, the British. That's something I'd highly recommend anybody to do, to ally with the British and stay allied to them. It's also worked out very well for me, for Hanover, staying allied. We've got a Protestant Northern Europe alliance there, which is true to the history. Oh, the British are beaten by the citizenry. No surprise there then, that's what would have happened to me, I'm sure.